Do this if you're going to a social event this weekend and you want to stay on track with your fat loss goals. Look, a big flaw in a lot of people's fat loss journeys is they'll be perfect during the week, but then as soon as a social event or weekend rolls around, they fall off track because they don't have a plan or they don't actually know how to stay on track in general. Sometimes it's a lack of preparation, sometimes it's just a lack of knowledge. So if you keep listening, I'll give you all the tips and tricks that we literally give to our clients to guarantee they'll lose 5-10 kilos in the first 90 days without having to give up social events or their favorite foods, and they're still having a good time at these social events as well, keeping that sort of balance in their life. The first one is the preparation before the social event even starts. Realistically, if you can get at least a week's notice of where you're going, exactly where you're going to, what restaurant, and what day, what time, and all the information possible about the event a week before, then that's great. If it's a last minute thing, that's fine. There's still a few other tips and tricks that will work that I'll mention soon. But yeah, assuming that you've got a week's notice, you know sort of where you're going. We usually like to use an approach called our calorie booster approach. All this involves is you get your daily calories in the lead up to a social event, so the week leading up to a social event or the few days, and you cut your daily calories by 100 to 200. This means that each day you're saving like 100, 200 calories, and if you keep sort of saving that up each day, it's going to add up and you're going to have a few calories saved for that social event or the weekend. For example, if you've got a social event on Sunday and you spend Monday to Saturday, 6 days, saving up 100 calories each day, then you're going to have 600 extra calories on top of your normal daily calorie goal. So if your normal daily calorie goal is 2,000, you're going to have 2,600 with that 600 on top. This way we've got more calorie freedom, we've got more flexibility, and this is definitely going to help with other tips and tricks I'm about to mention now, such as pre-tracking your day of eating and actually having a look and researching the menu. So in the lead up to the day, you will want to pick what is what you're actually going to be having at the event. Try aim for something higher in protein, try and aim for something that's still going to be enjoyable, but it's not going to be too crazy, and it's still decently healthy and has some decent nutrition. You don't want to be going too heavy on sides, because usually with like meals out, the sides is where most of the calories are. Whereas usually the main meals aren't actually as bad, but also very dependent on what you have for a main meal. But what about the meals and events? Say it's a Saturday night event, you're going out for a dinner with a few mates, you go to the pub. What about all the meals beforehand? You should be trying to aim for the leanest meals. So, having low calorie, high protein, high volume foods, they're going to fill you up and sort of keep you satisfied throughout the day. You're not going to starve yourself the whole day, because when you get to the event, you are going to go crazy and blue stick and eat so much. You're just going to treat your day like a normal day. Make sure that everything fits within your calories. Sometimes I know there's going to be social events where you're not going to be able to stay exactly on track, but even if we can just do some damage control, that's perfect. That's still a win. If we can turn a day where you would usually double your calories into a day where we go like 500 over your calories, that is a massive win. That's still, a win, because not every social event you're going to be able to stay on track at, realistically. What about if there's no menu? So when you're there, if you rock up, there's no menu. When you're there, just save some extra calories aside for your day of eating. Usually I would say it's kind of tricky because it depends on where you're going exactly. But usually, for example, if I'm going to a pub, I might maybe allow like 30 to 40% of my daily calories for that day towards, that dinner out. And then I'd spend the other 60 to 70% on just, the rest of my day eating. For example, if you've got like 2,500 calories after you've done some calorie boosting and you've got 2,500 calories for that day, 40% might look like, just over 1,000 calories. Plenty of space to still have a meal that you enjoy and to still fill you up. Very dependent on the actual venue itself as well. Next one is actually setting yourself limits. If you're someone who's worried that you're going to drink a lot and all this stuff, let yourself have some drinks, but set yourself a limit. Don't go to the event being like, I'll try not to have too much. Because like, what exactly is too much in your eyes, and what is a good limit? So set yourself that limit. Be clear on a limit. Say I'm gonna have 3 drinks, no more than 3 drinks. I'm having 3 drinks, that's it. Because then you can sort of plan your drinking at the event around that. You can have one there, you can have one there, you can have one there. Instead of, having all 3, instead of saying, I'm not gonna drink that much, and then just going and having like 3 in the first hour and being like, now we're gonna slow down. Well then, having 3 in the first hour, you're probably not going to want to slow down. So at least you can pace yourself a bit. If you have an actual idea in your mind, you can actually track it and you can hold yourself accountable to it. Especially if you do the pre-tracking your day of eating. So, putting your whole day of eating into your calorie tracking app, so you can stick to that, you can stay accountable to that. But what if things, go a bit off track and, it doesn't go exactly to plan, and you sort of have to make adjustments? What if you have something different? Maybe you guys change where you were meant to be going, or you go somewhere else, or maybe you go somewhere after, and you're having a bit extra. That's fine. The same sort of tips and tricks that I've given you today will apply. What about with the tracking side of things? Make sure you are tracking these things. If you haven't already tracked it, and you go somewhere unexpected, make sure you're tracking it. Even if you just go to the bathroom, go to the toilet, and then spend a minute just quickly tracking everything you've had that hasn't been tracked. If you don't want to do that, just take photos of everything you have, or keep a mental note. Make sure that you're not having too much that you're going to forget about it. But maybe just, writing it down in a note, writing, I had like a handful of chicken nuggets, and I had a handful of chips. Just making sure you record it very quickly somewhere. It doesn't mean you have to go onto the MyFitnessPal app or calorie tracking app and track it. But as I said, you can literally just go to the bathroom and spend a minute doing that too. Last tip that isn't really, I guess, going to make a massive difference on things, but I think it is a good mental tip, is just to get a workout done on that day. Go do some form of exercise. It starts the day off with a good hit of dopamine, and also starts it with some momentum. That means you're gonna go into the social event having a good day of doing good things for yourself. And you're gonna be like, I don't wanna ruin it. I've got a plan in place that I can still enjoy the social event and stay on track. I don't wanna ruin this or go too crazy. But in reality, guys, as well, look, there is gonna be some social events that you won't stay on track. And as I said, it's more about damage control. But not every social event is going to be like that and, stay untrackable. But the real issue becomes if you don't actually have a proper fat loss plan in place, if you don't know how many calories you should be eating, if you're not even getting the basics right during the week, then that's when the weekends are also just going to add to your stress even more. So if this is you and you don't have a plan in place, we literally offer a free game plan course so you can get results like our clients and lose 5-10 kilos in your first 90 days. This plan will give you everything you need to know. It's personalized to you as well. So if you follow it, you get results. Simple as that. If you want to book in this call and get this free plan of action, all you need to do is go to my Instagram @landonquinn.coaching and just message me the word game plan so we know you came from this episode, and then we'll sort you out with that.